And welcome back to Imola, the San Marino Grand Prix, the qualifying session. Excellent news that David Coulthard is on pole, and you saw them sort of chatting away to each other before the break. Let's see what they had to say to each other. It's Eddie Irvine, excellent run in the Ferrari, finishing fourth, and here he is now in sound with James.
Eddie Irvine, what a stellar lap from you. You must be very happy.
Yeah, you know, I got stuck in traffic my first two runs. My third run wasn't particularly good, and I had to get that last lap in again. And I wish I could do a good lap earlier on. It would mean I could maybe, you know, really push the whole last lap. But pleased enough, second row. It's really as good as I could expect.
What does it mean to you to do it here on Ferrari's home turf?
It relieves a lot of pressure.
And with Schumacher ahead of him, the Tifosi, the Ferrari fans, will be here in their hundreds of thousands tomorrow for the race itself, and that's how it looks. Damon Hill 7th before that blow-up, Johnny Herbert there in 11th, and looking like a good starting grid there from a British point of view. Now then, we chatted about him, turning about David Coulthard before the hour. He gave it his all. He was a pretty confident sort of guy beforehand, exuding a great air of confidence.
He is at the tracks that he knows and loves, and he's particularly good, you know, down here at San Marino. He's a cool customer, as we said. He's cool in the cockpit, he's cool outside of it. He never betrays any emotion whatsoever. You never really know how he's ticking, what he's thinking about. And that's why we're suggesting that he needs to get a bit animated when he's got to get past somebody, or he's got to get a little bit of that aggression going. That's what I'm saying. He's very, very calm, and apparently in the cockpit he won't be flustered at all. He refuses to be so. That's great when you're out front. But what's going to happen when he's behind Hakkinen? If Hakkinen jumps him at the start, he's going to have to try and muscle his way past at some stage. And these cars are very, very difficult to try and make them overtake. You
mentioned Mika Hakkinen there. It was a real personal scrap between the two of them, and David Coulthard very definitely ahead on points as we talk now.
Yeah, no question about that. At first, I thought, you know, Hakkinen was very, very smooth indeed. You know, he was going over a few curves. Just look at this. And he'd been putting the power down early, as we've been watching for the last 2 days. Total commitment, as you expect from Mika Hakkinen. Whereas previously he'd been kicking up the dust there on the trail coming out of Trigado, he wasn't. And by contrast, look at this. Coulthard absolutely all over the place in desperate attempts to get back and snake in, and that's uncharacteristic of the Scotsman David Coulthard.
Well, it just shows the effort that he's putting in. At one stage it looked as though Hakkinen, the Finn, was going to be on pole in his 100th Grand Prix, but then David really booted it for us, didn't he?
Yeah, and he was silky smooth. I must say, he was absolutely brilliant. He must have thought about that, and only he can, you know, silence himself, calm himself down, hops over the curb there at Trigado, coming up to the final line there. But we'd watched him all the way through that lap, threading the whole thing together and getting down there and doing actually a 25.9, which is superb. And no one had been able to do that, and the temperatures were rising as well. So that really bodes well for us for tomorrow. And maybe now he can make amends for Argentina.
Well, let's hope so, because, I mean, the crowd here are going to be waving their red flags. They're going to be behind Michael Schumacher, who's going to be putting pressure on him again. Has he learned enough in a couple of weeks to withstand that pressure this time?
Well, that we really won't find out until tomorrow. The best in the world is Michael Schumacher. He's the best racer, he's the best tactician, and the race is different from qualifying. Obviously, they're on a light fuel load here, and you can see that affected Michael Schumacher as he went up the hill coming out of the Acqua Minerale there. And everything is clicking. He's thinking about it the whole way round, monitoring inside the cockpit exactly what's happened. And I don't doubt that he was talking to Ross Brawn and saying, look, I'm going to abort this particular lap because it wasn't working for me at all. But second row filled by Ferrari. This is a jinx track for them because they haven't actually won here since '83 with Tombe in the number 27, which was Villeneuve's car. Villeneuve sadly killed the year before.
I mean, and if the Ferraris don't go well tomorrow, it makes it easier for you and me to get away, doesn't it? Because the crowds disappear.
That is the thing. You can see the bridges and the stands start emptying. You see them all flooding out over the bridges. We get to the airport, all right, and time for a glass of water.
Sure, that's a very selfish viewpoint. I mean, and before that, Mika Hakkinen will be looked to win his 100th Grand Prix, and he put in a great late effort to get on pole, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. He did an absolutely great job here, but in the first sector, he was well inside, but he got ragged. Now, this is one of the weaknesses of Mika Hakkinen. Although he can deal with a car which is slightly out of order and not to totally his liking, he drives, you know, through his backside like he does there. He got out of order, he lost it on the Acqua Minerale, and he also lost it on Trigado, who's coming out the final thing, and that made the difference.
Must have a word from you on the two other British drivers who are riding the shake-up. Eddie Irvine, first of all. I mean, he's got his critics, hasn't he? But he's delivered here so far today.
Yeah, and not from my perspective at all, because he's playing this second fiddle thing to Michael Schumacher, saying he's the best, he's the one that's going to defeat them, because he knows he's the best. And people don't, they say, well, he should get on with it. He should just go out there and race for himself and do it. But he's actually being very clever. He's being very political in the most political team in Formula One. He's keeping his head down, he's doing the business, and he's saying, look, I'm going to learn from Michael Schumacher. When I make a mistake or I don't get it right in the lap, he watches, he goes over, looks at his telemetry, try and works it all out and tries to reproduce it. And I think following his third place, you know, in Argentina, where he'd had the argy-bargy with Wirtz, and he still made it through, he's looking extremely good, and he's thinking about next year. He wants to be a #1 for some team out there next year, and he's going to deliver with a really good performance this year.
Will Damon Hill deliver in the Jordan after, I think it's probably his most encouraging qualifying of the year?
Yeah, it is. I mean, you saw a little crack appear, a few little smiles there coming from Damon Hill. They are improving all the time. They've made significant improvements here with the longer wheelbase. They've even got a slightly different airbox as well, giving the engine slightly more power, so that's brilliant for Hill and for Jordan.
OK, we have got time to go to the press conference. The press conference always takes place after qualifying, to have a word with David Coulthard.
Yeah, it was a little closer than would have been comfortable, because I had the car working very well in the morning session. I think Mika was struggling a little bit with balance, and as the temperature went up on the track, I slipped away a bit in my balance, so I didn't quite have the same confidence. So I thought at one point, especially when I started my last run, when I ran wide in one of the corners, that I'd maybe lost the pole. But anyway, today luck was with me, and delighted to start from pole.
How difficult is the first corner here at Imola?
It's quite tricky, because you have a little kink before you enter it, and it's a very tight entry, so you have to be quite careful what line you're on. I think it'll be quite close between the cars, so you know, potential for an incident, but hopefully we can get a clean start.
Have you had enough?
So there we are, the thoughts of David Coulthard. Be sure to join Murray and Martin 4:15 this afternoon. Murray's been to San Marino. Eddie Irvine showed Louise round the Ferrari factory, plus Jacques Villeneuve and David Coulthard. That's at 4:15. And tomorrow, live coverage here on ITV of the San Marino Grand Prix. Join us at 12:20. John Surtees will be with us before the race, by the way. And the highlights of the San Marino Grand Prix will come your way at 11:05. OK, then, David Coulthard is on pole once again. Eddie Irvine right up there in 4th. Don't rule out Damon Hill either. It could be a great Grand Prix for Britain. You be sure to join us tomorrow afternoon. Bye-bye.
If you'd like to know more about Formula One, the website address sponsored by BusinessNet is www.itv-f1.com.